Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Matthew with Atlantic Computer Services here in Wilmington, and I'm here with Kevin Flowers. Kevin Flowers is with Wade Direct. How you doing today, Kevin?
I'm well. I hope you are.
Doing great, doing great. So Kevin and I actually met on LinkedIn and had some coffee and got together and got to talking and found out that we've got quite a bit of synergy in our businesses. So I'm in outsource IT. And Kevin, what's the nature of your business?
So we're a insurance and risk management firm. After our conversations, heavier on the risk management side, and we'll kind of dig into what that means when it comes to cybersecurity. But the easy way to say it, we get paid by placing insurance, but there's a lot of other work that goes into it where we specialize in.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. So as we got to talking, what we discovered was that our company deals with things on the front end with prevention and best practices and things like that to not get caught up in any types of cybersecurity issues. And your company deals with what would be considered, coming in if somebody does wind up in a situation like that, you come in and save the day on the insurance side. So between the two of us, it's like a nice little 1-2 punch there.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we actually got to work almost almost rather quickly on a real life client example where we had a client who was working with another insurance carrier that was denied cyber insurance or cybersecurity insurance by that carrier, and we were able to refer them to you. And what were you able to do with them once they got over to you?
Yeah, the referral was pretty simple. It was just they got told no. They weren't aware of how the process went. We explained how the process went, what needed to happen to make, an insurance company accept the risk, and the safeguards and protective safeguards that are needed to be put in place. And we were able to move forward, like you said, really, really quickly in between two holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Yeah.
to address a need that kept this business owner up at night. So you're right. It was just explaining the process, removing. This was a non-technology related client that didn't know a lot about technology. The CEO was the CIO. He was the IT guy. He was everything, and he just needed someone to sit down with him and explain the process instead of just saying, "No, we can't do it." Conversation shouldn't have stopped there, but it did, and we're happy that we were able to open the conversation back up.
Good deal. Good deal. And yeah, so after they met with you guys, they came back to us because they'd only engaged us in a project. They were doing a migration into Office 365, and that's what we did for them. And then after meeting with you guys and finding out what things they needed, we were able to set them up in a way that it made more sense for the getting approved for the insurance.
Correct.
And like you mentioned before, the CEO was doing tech and everything on his own and found out that it might be the kind of thing that he would like to outsource on the whole. So we were able to come in and fill that need for him as well. So like I said, it was a real nice kind of combo effort there. And I love when things like that work out. So that led us to more discussions about kind of the state of cybersecurity on a whole. And one of the things that always, I guess, always kind of gets me interested is how a lot of people think that cybersecurity is a problem for things like Target and Home Depot and major corporations and things like that. But it's really not. It's almost more dangerous for small and local businesses. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're seeing a big shift into middle market and small businesses being the target of ransomwares. Yeah, I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, and ransomware is one of those things that I think some people are aware of, but you know, it, it's one of those things. If you're a small business owner and you don't know what that is, you really need to look into it because it can be crippling. I mean, there are just all types of things that can go wrong for that, and small business owners are real targets for that because they don't have the resources that these major corporations have. They don't have the teams of lawyers. They don't have the forensic accountants and the forensic IT departments to go in and dig this stuff out. And it could be just absolutely costly and crippling if you're stuck dealing with these kind. And I think you told me that the recommendation by a lot of companies is that if you ever get attacked by ransomware, if you ever get, pulled into one of these scams, is to just pay up.
Yeah, whether you engage your insurance or not, I mean, if you don't carry insurance to respond to ransomware, the first step is going to be, I mean, the FBI is going to tell you not to, but everyone else that wants you to get back into business is going to tell you to, because, these attackers are smart. It's, you mentioned Target, large corporations. The only difference between those large corporations and a small business is the sliding scale of the ransom demand. It's going to be based off what they think the company will pay. It's a numbers game. It's get in, get out, and get that ransom paid and move on to the next one. And these attackers are really loyal. They do everything they say they're going to do. Now there's cost on the back end of that for forensics and, just regulatory reporting and things like that. But, for the most part, these attackers don't want to soil their own name by being known as the person that doesn't live up to their end of the ransom demand. It's crazy. It's almost, a customer service at this point that they want to maintain, but it's true. They're pretty true to their word. But, we don't, I guess the best practice is to engage with your IT, bring in a third party if you don't carry insurance for it. But I think that I know for sure that we see the majority of the ransoms are paid instead of, challenged, because you want to get back online. You want to get back to business. The only way to do that is step one is to, meet that ransom demand and then work on the back end issues after that.
Yeah. And I think that I think that whether you're going to fight it, whether you're going to pay it or whatever, I think that the most important thing that we're trying to get across is don't get mixed up in it in the first place.
Yeah.
Take whatever steps you can to prevent those kinds of things. There's some basic things that you can do, and we'll get into, a couple of those here in just a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about, so 2020, along with being, dealing with pandemic and shutdowns and all the other things that businesses had to go through, was a banner year for cyber attacks. So I was looking at some statistics here, and this is just ransomware attacks by themselves, which is what we were talking about. So in the US, actually, this is a global damage. 2018, we're looking at $8 billion in ransomware attacks. And this is everybody. This is a global number. 2019, 11.5 billion. 2020, $20 billion. So what? Just almost double the amount from year to year from 2019. And that comes from a couple different things. First of all, the hackers are getting smarter. Cyber criminals are always coming up with new ways to end around security systems, to end around different things. So you've got to stay as vigilant as possible. And just, as the technology moves faster, as we get into 2021, these numbers are getting forecasted. They're certainly not forecasting a decrease. Whether or not it doubles again is anybody's guess, but they are definitely forecasting an increase in all of that.
Yeah, I agree with that point. A lot of it comes from, we're developing solutions to these new technologies that the attackers are creating after the attacks happen. Where there is no proactive solution, because unfortunately it seems like the attackers are smarter than the people fighting it. If they put that use to, that skill to good, we'd be in a good place. But yeah, I mean, we're creating the solutions on a pretty large deficit of time as to they're introducing them. So you're 100% right.
Yeah, and the takeaway from that is once these things are figured out and then the protections are in place, you've got to get them in. Mm-hmm. So if you're not taking any steps to protect the business, then you're going to be falling for the types of things that have already worked. And trust me, hackers know that people are out there and that their systems aren't protected and that their systems are vulnerable. And if something worked once, they're going to plug at it over and over and over again until they get as much of it as they can. Mm-hmm. So as soon as something is figured out and the patches roll out and the new updates and everything roll out to the antivirus, to the securities, You want to have those kinds of things in place, and you want to be insured against anything that does come down the line, to protect yourself in case there is something that falls through the cracks. So let's there was a local example that I wanted to share. Of course, I can't share any type of client information for the sense of confidentiality, but one of the things, we had someone come to us who right here in Wilmington was a local healthcare office that was the victim of a ransomware attack. And that's another thing that kind of prompted me anyway into making videos or making announcements and things like this. Is this one hit right here in our own backyard. And what happened was the client's system was taken over. It was done through a virus that crawled in through a user's computer, one of the employees. By the time it's all said and done, we're looking at restoration of the system, cyber forensics, attorneys, and insurance. It's going to cost them nearly $250,000. And I know that there are a lot of successful local businesses out of there, but I don't know that anybody can afford to shell out $250,000 that they hadn't planned on paying out to solve these kinds of problems, especially when the prevention measures are just a fraction of that, the types of things that they can do. And on top of all that, since it's a medical office, they've got to deal with all kinds of HIPAA regulations. They've got to deal with all kinds of HIPAA announcements. So you've got to add now reputation management as an issue that they've got to deal with. So one of the things that you and I talked about is, as we get into these videos, is that our goal is to provide advice and some tips that business owners can use, some practical tips and advice. What were some of the things that Wade had as far as information that you guys could share to people, just things that people can just basically make themselves aware of?
Yes, I mean, we offer cyber indexing. We can do cyber claim calculators to figure out what a cost looks like based off the number of unique records, or PII or HIPAA, PHI, whatever your industry, data regulations and your data definitions are. We can help formulate what that claim would look like to help you benchmark what limit of coverage you need, what additional ancillary coverage is, like for social engineering or any potential property losses. But really the main thing is just helping kind of create that upfront offense while we can't implement it. We can help walk through with a company, what's needed in order to secure the basic levels of cyber insurance. What are best practices? What resources can we bring in to help, implement those and carry that relationship forward of, that good cyber hygiene that's needed to make sure your insurance program is responding in catastrophe and not in, negligence. So, the basic things are password management, antivirus, encryption, mobile devicing, software patching, critical data backup. And one thing we do with all of our clients is create a cyber incident plan. And it's just putting it on paper like you would an employee handbook, a fire emergency protocol. It's like, who do you need to call? Who does what? Who wears what hat when a cyber incident happens? Because when you scramble in those situations, that's when things go wrong. If you don't know who does what, and you go to the CEO, but you need to be going to the CIO or the CSO or the CISO, depending on how large your company is, there's a lot of players in this. So just being able to identify that. But those 5 or 6, 7 basic protocols and safeguards, those are the first steps that we look for when engaging with a new client, and things we'll talk about some more in these other series for sure. Just explaining what those are and making sure that small business owners understand what and how to implement those.
Yeah. It can be overwhelming. It can get to be a lot of things. It doesn't have to be. And I think that that's the important thing of getting in touch with the right people, talking to people who work in these fields, and just getting some good advice on steps that you can take. Start wherever, like you said before, some companies are larger, some are smaller, but I think that there's steps that everybody can take to protect themselves. And one of those things, you know, I'd like to be able to leave people with just some basic steps that they can start even just today with something as simple as password management, which is one of those things that's like one of the unsung heroes of identity theft is password management. So I went and pulled up what some of the most common passwords are from, let me see, this was from, I think 2019. And first of all, if you hear your password on this list, you need to change it yesterday. But some of these things are like QWERT, so the first 5 letters across the top of the back of the keyboard, ABC123, password, password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that comes from Spaceballs. What else is there? Baby girl is on there, Ferrari, Mad Dog, Boo Boo, Big Daddy, all these things, along with just other, you know, password 1, 2, 3, just combinations of very simple, very, you know, common thing. A lot of times these passwords too are what come as automatic account setups. So if you sign up for an app or you sign up for a program or something, a lot of times your username is going to be your email and your password is going to be something like password with $2 instead of S's. I mean, and that's, listen, the people who are trying to break into your system or break into your network, a lot of times come from these tech backgrounds. They know all this stuff. Yeah. You know, this is not news. So this is something that you really need to take, you know, take steps to do so. You know, don't use personal information. Don't use birth dates. Don't use your kids' names. Don't use pet names. That's another good one. You want to use complex passwords, numbers, characters. I know that it, you know, a lot of people want things that they can remember, that are easy to remember, but mix up capitalizations. Mixing up capitalizations is an easy way to, you know, kind of build some password strength. And, you know, we encourage all of our clients. I know it's a pain in the butt. I know everybody hates it, but 2-factor authentication, where you get a message to either, you know, you sign in and it sends you an email that you have to put in a one-time special code, or you sign in and it sends you a text where you've got to put in a one-time special code. Yes, it's an extra step. Yes, it's a pain in the butt, but man, is it like one of the most basic things you can do to protect yourself and protect your account.
Yeah. Good analogy that I use with people that don't deal with cybersecurity every day is, you know, picture going to get homeowners insurance on your home and the inspector comes out and you don't have a front door on your home. That carrier is going to be like, wait a second, like you got to get a front door. And then all those other things you mentioned, like the 2-factor authentication, you know, that's the deadbolt. That's the lock on the doorknob. You know, it's not just the door, it's all the safeguards you can put in place. So, you know, to put that in perspective, just the smallest, most basic things you can do usually are the, you know, easiest things to infiltrate. Not having a front door in your home, pretty inviting to someone walking through the neighborhood looking to rob people. You know, that's the like you said, having those weak passwords and you know, not having the 2-factor authentication. That's just, they're gonna attempt to break that. That's going to be their first step. You know, the attackers.
Yeah, and everybody likes low-hanging fruit. You know, right. I mean, no, depending on the size of your company, you know, hackers aren't going to spend a ton of time trying to get in, but if the window is open, literally, they're going to crawl through it.
Yeah.
Like you said, if the door doesn't have a lock on it and they can just walk in, then yes. If the door is locked, if the window is latched, on to the next house, because there's probably an easier target out there.
Yeah.
So don't be the easy target is basically what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you very much. You know, this has been great. I think this is a good start to what we're trying to accomplish. And like Kevin said, we're going to be sharing more information about quite a range of topics here over the next couple months as we create more of these videos, because there's so much that goes into protecting your business, protecting yourself, protecting your clients' data. I mean, these are all things that can fall victim and fall prey to online attacks, cybersecurity breaches, and cyber attacks. And if nothing else, we want you business owners, we want you people in the community to be prepared and know that there are steps that you can take to protect yourself. if there's something that you need, that you have a specific question about, feel free to post it in the comments below this video. We'll use that in future videos as more topics of discussion. There are lots of things out there. So if there's something specific that you want to see covered, let us know. We'd be happy to. And we'll also put in links to ACS and links to Wade, so that if you guys have a question about one of the services that we provide, that you want to get help with, you can reach us there. And again, if you have any other specific questions, you can reach us through either of those sites. So, Kevin, is there anything else that you want to share before we close it out for today?
No, as always, with any of these video things, forgive any missteps that we've taken. These things always never go off without any hitches. So yeah, we look forward to putting some more on, and we'll be Hollywood level by the time we're on video 4 or 5.
That's right. That's right. That's the goal. Hollywood level before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Well, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate your time today, and we'll be talking again soon.
All right. Bye, y'all.